anxiety is widespread across the globe, and although often associated with older children and adults, it has been reported in children as young as 5. This means it is affecting our youngest elementary school-aged children. And although often rooted in preschool interactions and predispositions, math anxiety can very easily be cultivated at school. And if overlooked, it can continue to affect them throughout their lives, influencing the interests they pursue, the types of careers they choose, and in some cases can be detrimental to the quality of everyday life experiences. Looking to the future, a strong STEM workforce is imperative for maintaining and advancing modern industries. So it's crucial that we are appropriately motivating math learners in our schools.
Drawing from research in both education and psychology, we'll explore how math anxiety presents in younger students, how it may impact math performance, what can cause it, and look at some of the research-based techniques and interventions that have been used to combat this phenomenon in recent years.
In a 2013 study, children in grades 1 and 2 were asked to respond to certain math scenarios using a pictorial scale of nervousness. When averaged across all scenarios, responses suggested that almost half of participants reported feeling medium to high levels of nervousness around some math situations. More recent research from Poland suggests that though many young children report some anxiety around math, few are highly math anxious at the very beginning of formal schooling. This report highlighted the role of teachers in providing positive math experiences to young students to foster self-efficacy. And it's important to note in this regard that math anxiety does have a tendency to increase as children develop and math concepts become more complex. Although math anxiety is a particular form of anxiety specific to math, some studies have shown a correlation between math anxiety and higher levels of test and/or general anxiety. It is still unclear in younger students just how related math anxiety and other forms of anxiety are, though research has shown that math anxiety in younger students appears to be higher in relation to math testing as opposed to math learning, which could be a very helpful distinction for some teachers.
In the elementary classroom, a student becoming emotional when faced with a math exercise or concept may be the clearest indication of a potential math anxiety issue. But there are many more subtle warning signs that teachers can look out for. For example, a student who hides their work or refuses to explain their thinking to the class. Someone who usually participates in class discussions but avoids doing so in a math context. Someone who is unwilling or reluctant to begin tackling math activities until they know the right way to arrive at the answer. And someone who complains of a stomach or headaches during math class. And of course, someone who becomes disheartened or frustrated by mistakes or wrong answers. So what's actually happening in the brain when someone experiences math anxiety? Well, the most prominent theory relates to a depletion of working memory resource. Instead of using their working memory to think about the numbers and the steps needed to solve the problem, the math-anxious students' working memory is occupied by their anxiety. They're prohibited from accessing the math facts and faculties that are held in the working memory part of their brain.
Ironically, children with the highest levels of working memory resource, something usually helpful in math, especially problem solving, show the most pronounced negative relationship between math anxiety and performance. So students using more advanced strategies appear to be more susceptible to the effects of math anxiety.
Whilst math anxiety can be caused by cognitive predispositions, causing difficulty with fundamental math skills such as counting, number representation, and spatial sense, social factors, including negative attitudes and stereotyping, also play a major role. Math-anxious role models, particularly parents and teachers, can be a source of math anxiety in students. So as educators, the way in which we teach math to our students is key to tackling math anxiety in the elementary classroom. A study by Sion Bylock and colleagues showed by the end of an academic year, the more anxious female teachers were about math, the more likely girls in the class were to endorse gender stereotypes, which consequently had a negative effect on the girls' math achievement. So, other than working hard to rid ourselves as teachers of any math anxiety we may be harboring, what else can we do? Well, we can reevaluate our math teaching and incorporate explicit number sense instruction and constructivist techniques. Research shows that high-stake testing and time-pressured tasks can be causes of math anxiety, and that use of constructivist theory, which tells us that students are more engaged in work they enjoy and find interesting, can ease math anxiety. So, prompt discourse around student strategies, use multi-ability grouping, play number sense games, implement formative student-led assessment to inform teaching, aim to eradicate the misconception that speed is of most importance when it comes to math, focus on process rather than correct answers, incorporate problem solving and explaining student thinking as much as possible, use UDL concepts. For example, make math interesting and relevant to your class profile. You can try using technology to engage students and gamify concepts. Use concrete manipulatives and visualization techniques so that it's hands-on and multisensory. And set low floor, high ceiling tasks. Bibliotherapy can be used to support the social emotional element, as well as an opportunity to present math as a relevant key life skill. Read alouds are an excellent conduit for provoking discussion around math anxiety, can be a way to increase math exposure to those who experience math anxiety and avoidance.
Explicitly teaching students about brain elasticity and promoting a growth mindset can also help to establish a safe and supportive learning environment that celebrates mistakes by reframing them as learning opportunities. Also, classroom mindfulness or grounding activities can be focused on reappraising anxiety and accepting new challenges. Research tells us that a moderate level of math anxiety can actually be useful if it is accompanied by appropriate motivation to do well and an understanding of the value of math skills.
Next, engaging in expressive writing about math anxiety for as little as 7 minutes prior to a math test has been shown to boost performance in math-anxious university students. It is thought that this could also be the case with younger students, where performance worries are a big factor. And getting some of those worries down on the page may free up much-needed working memory. Finally, it can be helpful to scaffold parent involvement in students' exposure to math. Research tells us that homework help from math-anxious parents can actually hinder children. Many parents are not aware that negative math talk can adversely affect their children's attitudes toward math and ultimately their performance. Promoting positivity and real-life exposure to math at home can ameliorate their children's approach to math by increasing math confidence. Interactions that are structured to be conducive to learning, such as using an application called Bedtime Math to ponder math challenges together, has been shown to reduce the negative effects of math-anxious parents as homework help. Sending information to parents about the mental math strategies introduced in the class, as well as highlighting apps or websites that their children find engaging, can also be helpful. Of course, the extent to which parents choose to and are able to make use of the information will vary. Since math anxiety presents in so many different forms and can be invisible, it can be a challenge to measure.
Teachers will need to carefully monitor students in order to assess whether there's any reduction in the externalized behaviours they originally perceived in the student. Since it's well documented that anxiety can be detrimental to performance, it's important to consider that even those who appear to be doing well in math at school could be underperforming in comparison to their potential ability because of math anxiety. It follows then that a student whose math anxiety has been alleviated will likely show enhanced performance as well as an increased confidence.
Observations, which can be recorded in data sheets, studying math performance data, conducting attitude surveys, and any expressive writing pieces can provide important insight. Any survey questions need to be carefully considered in the context of the intended age group. Bear in mind that what helps one child to overcome or ease their math anxiety may not necessarily have the same effect on others. Ultimately, educating both pre-service and established teachers in math anxiety has the potential to create a society that's better equipped to function in a more technologically dependent 21st century.